This is The Dish Pig, where we go on a journey of discovery about all things food and booze. I'm your host, Nick Sherry. A big shout out to all the folks in Melbourne, Australia at the moment. They've gone back into a COVID lockdown. Hang in there, guys. Just remember, it'll all be over soon. Failure is not an option. Gene Kranz said this, most famously portrayed by Ed Harris in the 1995 smash hit Apollo 13. You know who else said that? Sandra Foti from Piccolina Gelateria. And that's who we sat down with this week. Now, I forgot to ask Sandra one very important question. So the first person to let me know what that missed question was will receive a free bag of firewood from our friends at firewood.com.au. Terms and conditions do apply because I have yet to inform them that they'll be sponsoring this prize. But anyway, you can email your answer at ask@dishpigpodcast.com or send a message on Instagram at _dish_pig. So let's get into this week's chat. This is Piccolina. Welcome. Thank you for being here and having a chat. We're obviously here at Piccolina HQ in your office here with the mood lighting. It's very dramatic.
It is.
Where you are
working. I don't like working with fluoro lighting. I like it to be as natural as possible.
Nice and calm.
Exactly.
Nice and calm. Now, I usually kick things off by asking our guests what was the last thing that they cooked for themselves. So it cannot be ice cream gelato related. It's got to be separate from that.
Okay. What did I cook last night? Yes, I remember. I cooked a rack of lamb.
Lovely.
With a green salad, and I was going to cook the rice, but I had a bit of a catastrophe with our dog, and he ripped his dog bed apart, and the water boiled over, and the rice just didn't work, and we just had sliced bread with butter on the side.
Do you think the dog was a bit upset that he or she wasn't getting some of the lamb rack, or?
No, I just think we have a 9-month-old border collie puppy.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
And I don't know what was going on last night. Everything was fine, and then like witching hour with kids, he just went crazy.
Still sounds like a lovely dinner. You know, bit of lamb, bit of salad, and just some sliced bread. My dad would love that dinner. He's obsessed with bread and butter. So
yeah, well, bread and butter. Add butter to anything and you're fine.
And you're winning.
Yeah, but usually it would be like pasta. Pasta's the go-to.
Yeah.
I'm good at pasta or like lasagna, anything with layers, tiramisu, stuff like that.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, but last night it was lamb.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, when we're talking about gelato, I haven't met a single person that doesn't like gelato or doesn't like ice cream. My wife claims to know one person. She can't remember exactly who it is, but I'm convinced that person doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I've come across people that, you know, they could be out at a restaurant and, you know, like they might not be a sweet tooth. Oh, I'm not going to order any dessert tonight. I'm fine. That's one thing, but I don't think I've ever met someone that will have a taste of some gelato and be like, you know what, that tastes like shit. I hate it. I'm not going back for more. Do you know anyone that is like, nah, just can't do it?
I don't know anyone who just can't do it, but I know a lot of our customers have said to me, you've ruined gelato for us for good because we now just cannot eat anything else than Piccolina.
Well, there you go.
Because we know how good it can be and now nothing else matches up. So we don't want to waste the calories. It's either Piccolina or nothing. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Do you remember what would be one of your first memories as a kid when it comes to gelato, like sorbets, like, you know, take us back to when it all started.
When it all started. So my strongest memory growing up would have to be of my dad preparing and making gelato for the family at Christmas and Easter and special birthdays, and he would be up till 2 or 3 in the morning making litres of gelato, which would then be consumed the next day within 15 minutes,
Yeah.
literally. So that would be my earliest memory.
How did he himself, get into it? I mean, is this does this go back, from, relatives immigrating from other countries? Where did it all stem from?
Well, Dad, like many Italian immigrants, came to this country, years ago, and they came with absolutely nothing, but they had a lot of beautiful heritage, the Italian heritage that they brought with them to this country, and it was all based around food and family and those sorts of traditions. So I think my parents and my dad brought with him, and my grandparents, a lot of that love of food and family. And so I think while he didn't make gelato professionally, he learnt the skill, and then always just sort of had it in his repertoire of things that he would kind of pull out of his hat and create. He was a really creative person, and he just used to love making gelato. And he always used to say, he was in the building industry and construction, and he always used to say, look, if there's a recession, I know how to make gelato, I can open a gelateria. So he's a true entrepreneur, and he had a number of businesses I can remember from when we were little. And so starting a business was not kind of foreign to us. It was,
it's just kind of ingrained in the family. Yeah,
we just grew up seeing my parents, my mum and my dad, just start lots of businesses. So my sisters and I would just start a business, and it wasn't a big deal. And so although I had never grown up thinking I'll open a gelateria, I guess it was something that I grew up with, and I always had in the back of my mind Dad saying, oh, well, if there is a recession, gelato's recession proof. That's what he used to say. And he used to say, you might not be able to go out for a fancy meal, but you can take your family out to get a gelato, and you can spend $30 and everybody's really happy, because gelato makes people really happy, and it does. It's
probably one of those family-friendly things in a recession, right? Because it's not, it's not alcohol, it's not gambling. It's, it's gelato. It's
absolutely
very, very PG.
Yeah, for sure. But even, what we've done with our concept and with the brand is sort of got a background in design, and I love creating beautiful spaces. And so the gelateria, the business, is an opportunity to explore different design mediums and different ways of doing things, different ways of approaching a gelateria. So for me, it's about creating a whole experience for the customer. It's not just about coming and getting a scoop of ice cream in a cup or a cone. It's about how you feel when you're within that space.
Yeah.
So we have groups of people coming in after dinner, coming in sort of, it's almost like for Friday night. It's like a bar on a Friday night here, or a Saturday. Like, we crank up the music, and people just sort of extend their night. They might sit for 20, 30 minutes at the bar and just have their gelato with friends. So Perfect. It's good to have created a space like that.
Yeah. So you grew up around it. I mean, it was always like you said, your dad's cranking out the homemade stuff at Christmas, and was it just at the holidays, like Christmas and Easter, or was he, maybe on a Sunday afternoon or during the week, anything like that, or was it more special occasions?
Yeah, it was special occasions and the semi-commercial gelato machine.
I was about to ask what machine was he using?
Yeah, so he found a machine in Italy, and that was brought out. It wasn't like a little, something you get at a department store. It was actually a proper semi-commercial gelato machine, and he would bring that out. But it was such a heavy piece of equipment, and the process was so labour intensive. And that's so when I decided to open the gelateria, it was based on the concept of what we'd eaten growing up at home. So I remember thinking I can't get a gelato anywhere in Melbourne or Australia for that matter that or even in Italy, I couldn't find anything that tasted like what we would have at home. And there's a real difference between something you make at home and something you buy that's mass produced.
Yeah.
And so the concept was to create something that we like what we had at home. And to do that, it's really labour intensive. So I remember Dad making this really labour intensive gelato just at Christmas and Easter and for special occasions in summer.
Yeah.
Because it took such a long time. Each flavour was balanced and each ingredient was prepared, so nothing was purchased. Nuts were roasted or caramels were made.
Yeah.
So
everything from scratch.
Everything from scratch. And that was the concept. How do I take what we have at home and explode that up onto a bigger scale? And I thought that people might be able to taste the difference. But I wasn't sure whether they would care or not. And so when I opened the store in Hawthorne, it was really about testing the concept. So I would have all my friends and family who, you know, they'd get a little 500 ml, maybe like a little container that Dad made that was sort of few extras, and they were very coveted. And if you came over and, you know, you were given one to take home, you knew that it was special.
You're in.
Yeah, you're in. But, you know, you've got to appreciate that little tub because that took a long time to make. And people would eat it. Friends would say, oh, my God, this is amazing. Oh, my God, your dad's rum and raisin, or your dad's, you know, zabaione, or your dad's whatever, hazelnut is just so incredible. We've never tasted anything like this. And so I knew that we were onto something, but I wondered whether they were just sort of being polite, like they're our friends, you know, like.
Always hard to tell.
Like, are you really being serious? And then, so we opened up the store in Hawthorne with the concept of making everything from scratch. And, as I said, I thought people would be able to tell the difference. I hoped that they would care, and they really did. They really did. And it just took off.
Yeah.
And people would make comments, like I said before, like, you've ruined gelato for good. Now I can't.
Ruined everything.
Yeah, you've ruined everything. I can't go and get, you know, what I thought was good, because now I actually know how good it can be.
Well, I've got complete and utter full respect for you, you know, for you, of course, but for your father having, you know, going from, you know, everything made from scratch at home, because one of my COVID hobbies last year was I did purchase an ice cream maker, like one of these big things from Italy. It's like 70 pounds. My wife almost murdered me because of how much it costs. And I was like, trust me, it's all going to pay off. And I wouldn't say that I've, you know, ruined all kinds of frozen desserts for her, but after, you know, churning out a couple of batches of some basic flavors using, you know, good quality ingredients, all from scratch, even it instantly pushes you away from all the mass-produced crap in supermarkets. Like you instantly tell a difference right there. So I've been told to put the ice cream machine away though, because we both started adding a few pounds. But
I know.
You know, in moderation. In moderation.
Well, if you're going to use up the calories, you may as well use them with a really good quality product. Yeah. Like good chocolate or good. You don't want to waste it on junk.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're going to put it on, you may as well put it on with something good.
Yeah. So then when you kind of, you know, left school, and because you're a graphic designer, or your background is in graphic design.
Yep.
So you go off to university, like you're studying all of that, and you enter the working world. At what stage did you kind of realize that, oh, you know what, like I'm going to make a bit of a shift here and move away from that?
Well, so I studied graphic design and I went into the industry, and I was working in the design industry for a number of years, and I decided to break away and open my own design studio, which I did. And I had a really great clientele. I had a couple of people working in the studio, and that was fantastic. And my sister had recently opened Hub Furniture.
Okay.
And she had this gorgeous showroom on Exhibition Street. And she was like anyone in a new business, you kind of do everything yourself. So she was on the floor and running the whole thing, and didn't really have many people working with her. So she was often alone. And I remember passing by once to say hello, and she's like, oh, you've stopped in to, spend the afternoon with me. And I was like, oh, yeah, I was really just ducking in to go to the toilet, but now I feel really bad. So why don't I just set up my laptop and work here with you? And it just kind of went from there, and I moved the studio across to Hub and took them on as a client.
Okay.
And sort of did that in exchange for sort of having a bit of a space there. So that worked out really well, and I got to be with my sister and be around everything she was working on. Really amazing, dynamic business, just all about design. So that was a really fun time. And just as the more that I was there, I was just kind of absorbed into that business and really became passionate about Hub and what my sister was doing, and I just wanted to support her more fully.
Yeah.
And so I gave up the graphic design, stayed on doing that with her, a bit for Hub, but also just kind of just started to work at Hub in a bigger capacity, in a full-time capacity.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of found a real passion for sales and all the product that we used to sort of work on there, and all the designers we used to work with, the international designers, the furniture, architects, interior design. Like, it was just incredible. Like, we were exposed to the best of the best in the world. Overseas trips to Milan, the furniture fairs, meeting everybody over there. It was just an awesome time. And so we would bring all of that back and go and talk to all the architects and designers about it. We did incredible fit outs all over Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland, the whole thing. And I ended up managing the sales team in Melbourne and Sydney for a number of years, and then stopped. I had kids. I sort of kept up doing a bit of Hub and a bit of the kids and kind of juggling all of that. And then one day I was just like, you know what? I just feel like I've got to do something of my own, something different. I just want to sink my teeth into something myself and prove to myself that I can do it. Because it's one thing supporting somebody else, but at the end of the day, until you've got everything on the line, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know whether I could do it. And so I sort of spent a couple of weeks, months, whatever it was, really searching for what I wanted to do. And just, I don't know, I had a light bulb moment, and I just went, Gelateria. It's really controllable. I knew what I wanted. Like, there's, X number of flavours. I'll execute them really well. They won't change, and that's what I'm going to do.
And with your, when you came to that decision, with the exception of, the family history and growing up, around your dad making gelato and that sort of thing, had you had any kind of training at all in, manufacturing something like this? Like,
no.
Was it so?
Nothing. Zero. I'd never even stepped into a kitchen. I'd never waitressed or worked in hospitality at all. And I just was like, oh yeah, I think I can do this. I get business. I understand brand.
Yeah.
I think I've got an idea about design, and I know what great gelato is. I've got really high standards when it comes to, food and quality and in everything that we do, in every facet. So why is food or gelato different?
Yeah.
It's just about applying those really high standards to whatever you do. That's how I see business. It's not about whether I know how to make food or gelato. It's about the business side of it and having certain standards that you don't compromise on.
Yeah. And so you've made the decision. So the light bulb goes off.
Yeah.
you have got no training in how to make gelato. What do you do next?
So I decided that's what I'm going to do. I'm opening a gelateria. And then I thought, well, how about I have a look around Melbourne and see who's out there, who's doing what. I had never heard of any of the people out there doing gelato at the time. Sort of did a bit of have a look around. Yep, okay, great. They're doing what they're doing, and I think I've got a different concept. So that's a good thing. Right, where do I want to open the gelateria? Okay, yep, this is where I think I want to open it. Sign the lease. You're in the deep end. You're in hot water. You got to sink or swim. So then I was like, right, I think I better take myself overseas. I'm going to do a bit of research first, find out who is making gelato in the way that I want to make it, and just call a million times till the person that I found who I thought was good would take my call and basically beg to go and work with him in his gelateria over summer for a couple of weeks to kind of learn what I needed to learn, because making gelato at home 1 litre at a time is although that was the concept of how we wanted the flavours to be, that's totally different to doing something on a huge scale. So I had to find out whether or not, not whether or not, I mean, I had the lease already, but I just had to work out how to make it happen on a big scale. So I went over there, spent a couple of weeks there, refined the recipes, kind of bedded that down.
Whereabouts were you? Where was your crash course apprenticeship?
Yeah, so that was in Tuscany.
Okay,
so that was pretty special.
Sounds terrible.
It was horrible. Over summer. But actually, you know what? I would get there to the gelateria at 4 a.m.
Oh wow!
I would help.
Kind of like being a baker.
Everything. Yep. Everything would scrub down everything. I was completely hands on, and then I would start scooping ice cream at whatever time we'd start scooping, and I would stay till 1 or 2 in the morning, because that's what happens in summer in Italy. And then I would have 2 or 3 hours sleep and get up and do it all again, because I wanted to know absolutely every facet of the business so that I could, because that was I had 2 weeks to figure it out. So
it's not long.
No, not long, but I'm a quick study. So I did that. And then when I was there, I ordered the pozzetti. I had a big decision to make. Do I go pozzetti or do I go, display cabinet?
I was going to say, so that's where, the pozzetti it's called, right? That's where you have the lid and the tubs in there, that the lid comes off, and then the other ones, it's more exposed in the cabinet, and you see right?
That's right. And so 6 years ago, the pozzetti, I mean, even in Italy, nobody was really using pozzetti, and it was like, oh God, it's a risk going with the pozzetti. I think people need to see the gelato. That's you grew up seeing the gelato, so to cover it up was a risk. But I think the decision, I mean, I was already leaning toward the pozzetti, because with the design background that I have, anything on display is not that attractive.
It wasn't going to fit in with the
look and feel wasn't right. So, for me, it's not function over form, it's form over function. I will hide a light switch behind a corner underneath a table around the back if it means that I don't have to have that light switch exposed. I will make life difficult for myself, but it's about the wall looking beautiful, not about how easy it is to get to the switch.
And but it also, I think I read something about these not too long ago, where it controls. Does it control the temperature of the gelato in a better way as well, which actually gives you a better scoop, or
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is that when you're making a product the way that we make it, which is completely from scratch, completely natural, without emulsifiers, etc., the best way to store a gelato like that is in a pozzetti. So you can make something that's mass produced and put it into a pozzetti, and it's not going to make it better. But,
right, okay.
But if I put my product, which is quite delicate, in a display cabinet. It's just not the right way to store the kind of gelato that we make. And so that formed part of the decision. It was how it looked, but it was also the best thing for my product.
Right.
So, yeah, so when I was there, we ordered the pozzetti, we ordered the machinery, I ordered, I don't know, everything I needed, or that I thought I needed, and there we go. I placed the order and put it on a shipment. I had lots of contacts with freight forwarders through Hub and all that, put it on a container. I think I asked my sister if I could just sneak some ice cream machinery onto a container. Did that. It landed. In the meantime, I, spoke to Hector Guthrie, who we're good friends with, Paul and Hamish.
Yeah, I've read a bit about them actually.
Yeah, they're incredible, and I'd known them for years through Hub and just thought their work was fantastic, and I was dying to work with them. And I just rang them and I'm like, I've got a lease and, and I've got the machinery and I've got this, and we start paying rent in 3 months, and I want you to design something, and can we make it happen? Can we go for it? What do you think? And they're like, oh God, Hamish just laughed. and he's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And we did it. And then literally within 6 months of making the decision that that's what I was going to do, we'd open the store.
6 months?
Yeah. In fact, I think it was less. 6 months. I remember in May, it was around May, yeah. May, June, I decided.
2015?
And then I opened the store in Hawthorne in December 2015.
Wow. That is like lightning fast.
Yeah. But you've got to make a decision. You can't procrastinate.
Yeah.
If you've got an idea, go for it.
And do you think, was that the influence of your parents, do you think, in the background
totally,
there? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Completely. My dad, that's just how he was. He'd just he'd come up with an idea and the next day it would happen. He'd make it happen. He'd had 5 businesses going at once.
In the back of your mind, were you like, what if this doesn't work? What if
no, it was going to work?
Never crossed your mind. It's like there was no like plan B, nothing like that. It was just
there's no plan B.
Yeah,
you make a decision, and you have to make it work. There's no room for failure. It's not an option.
I love it.
You don't fail. You make it work. Yeah? Like you have to make it work. Failure is just not an option. You make a decision. Obviously, you think about it, you get that. I don't know. I can't describe. People have said to me, how did you know that was the right thing? I don't know. It just resonated for me and with me. And I
guess you never know, right? But it's just.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, I thought, look, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, I lose my bank guarantee for the lease. Okay, I lose that. I've spent X on the fit out. Well, I lose that. I've got some machinery. I'll sell that. Mm-hmm. And what? Then what?
Yeah.
At least I've tried. But, if you're going to try and do something, you want to make it work. No, who wants to fail?
No one.
No one, really.
And how were those first, like the first few weeks once you opened the doors?
Mad. I didn't know how to scoop an ice cream, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I was knee deep. It went from 0 to 100 just so quickly. And I had no employees. I was making the ice cream, doing the books, cleaning, serving, ordering. It was mad.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was in the deep end, big time. And I was just like, I remember that first summer, I was just churning, and as it was coming out, I didn't even have time. Like, I didn't even have time to set. I was just scooping it.
Oh, wow, just straight out.
Like, it was coming out and I was putting it into the pozzetti. By that stage, I had one person, and I was just like, we were just scooping and serving as I was making it. Like, it was overwhelming. It was
wow,
full on. Yeah.
How do you think, I mean, starting a new business like that, was there certain strategies in place to kind of garnish a clientele straight away? Like, or was it purely organic? How did you kind of get word out that, this is going to be something different?
Yeah.
It's because there's no shortage of, gelato stores in Melbourne, right?
Now there's no shortage.
Well, yeah. Well,
back then
so
it
back
wasn't
then,
as there weren't.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there weren't really as many, and I don't think there was anyone really doing what we were doing.
It was a lot of all the same.
Yeah, that's right. And I think now there have been a lot of new players coming into the market. It's great. I feel like we've contributed to the gelato landscape of Melbourne because the quality, I think, has lifted since we came on the scene, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, but back to that question of what was the question? Did I
in preparing to open?
Yeah.
Like, you've obviously ticked all the right boxes in terms of like, you have connections with, with yourself with design and setting up everything in the right way and everything's there. It looks great. And then in order to,
how do you tell people?
Yeah, getting word out in the street.
Yeah.
Were you as strategic about that as you were with, the concept from start to finish in terms of the design and product? And
I just think that when you have really high standards and whatever you output is of a really high quality, I think that just people are just drawn to it. And so it's not like I did any advertising or anything like that. It just, the fit out looked fantastic. The concept looked fantastic. I was there. Everybody was tasting it. It was just word of mouth. It just kind of gained momentum. But it's because it was of a high quality from day one.
Yeah. Nothing
was compromised and nothing has been compromised since. I mean, even the new stores we've progressed massively since the first store. The first store was really just a test. Like, is anyone going to care? Can anyone taste the difference? Will this be a success? I mean, there is no plan B, like I was saying, and failure is not an option. But I didn't know really how well it was going to do. I knew that I was going to really work hard to make sure it was a success. But there are some things that are out of your control. But yeah, if you look at any of the beautiful fit outs that we've done, like, there's no expense spared. And that's not because I say, oh, well, we need to spend X amount of dollars on a fit out, or we need to spend X amount of dollars on an ingredient, or whatever it is. It's just something that I personally, I can't stomach not doing. Like, when you know good design and you know the difference between a fake and the real thing, and you know the history behind that light and who designed it, and you probably have met that person.
Yeah.
You can't buy the copy. And it's the same with the product. Like, we've got a stracciatella. We make the chocolate shards that go into the stracciatella, which is like an Italian version of a choc chip. And, we have suppliers come to us and they give me a bottle and they're like, well, use this. It's cheaper, it's quicker.
Yeah.
And I look at it and I don't understand what the ingredients are. And I'm like, well, I can't, in all consciousness, say to you, our product is 100% natural, knowing that I put that on top. And it's something I won't compromise on, even though that bottle is quicker, cheaper, easier to get my hands on, takes time away from, the kitchen. I can save costs, etc. I just can't. I'd rather not use it. I'd rather not have that product. It's like a handbag.
Yeah.
I don't want a copy. Even if it looks the same, I know it's a copy.
It's
I don't want the copy. If I can't afford the real thing, then I'll buy what I can afford, but it's not going to be a copy.
How did you? I mean, what was that process like? I mean, you did like your 2-week stint in Italy, and you come back and you've hit the ground running. But I mean, it must take a while to kind of make these connections with your suppliers and the right ingredients that you're looking for. Talk me through how that how those relationships were started and developed, and you know, were you testing a lot of stuff? Was it, you know, it must have been.
It was just millions of calls, hundreds and hundreds of calls around the clock, phone calls, conversations. Yeah, just nothing's easy with when you're starting a new business.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know, 10 hours, it's like an 80-hour week. It's not like a, you know, normal 9-to-5 job. It's just you're on all the time. And I just, I mean, for me, I just kept making calls. I kept searching. I had no background in it, so everything was new. So I was making new contacts from scratch. I didn't have any contacts, and it probably took longer, but that's part of the challenge, I guess.
But once you, for example, like if you're, how did you decide on what milk or eggs or, you know, these very, you know, the staple ingredients that you're using every day? Was that a you know, very meticulous kind of like, okay, we're going to line up 5 different, you know, brands of eggs here, or, you know, from 5 different suppliers?
Yeah. And
was there testing involved in terms of like how each of those, you know, resulted in the final product?
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that everything was as local as it possibly could be.
Okay. Yeah.
So we use, you know, locally sourced milk and cream and sugar and you know, eggs and fruit, seasonal fruits, things like that. You know, peanut butter, you know, peanuts, and you know, the only thing that we use Australian hazelnuts and pistachio as much as we can. But again, nuts are like a fruit, so they're seasonal. So there's a bit of variance in where they come from, so that we can have that product right through the year. But yeah, we started off by wanting to source locally as much as possible. And then it was about the ingredients, so making sure that the milk didn't have anything in it other than that it was just a natural product. The same with the cream. Like, you know, we don't use cream with thickener in it or things like that. So, I mean, we had to do a lot of research. I had to do a lot of making a lot of calls and making sure that I read the labels and understood what was in things like the cream. Yeah. Or the yogurt or whatever the ingredient was that we were using. But everything is made from scratch. So caramels and it's just sugar, and I mean, it's not like I was just buying raw ingredients. So you can't really go wrong.
And I mean, I'm sure everyone's, you know, probably thinking that the most favorite part about starting a business like this is the flavors and coming up with your flavors, and, you know, what are the staples and what are the, you know, anything that's rotating, because I mean, you have like your core, like your, I don't know what you call them, but you know, the core ones.
Yeah.
But you've also done quite a few collaborations as well, right?
Yeah, we have. So we've got, when I was creating the menu at the beginning, it was about, the concept was traditional Italian gelato to stand the test of time, and gelato that's been around for 100 years and it'll be around for another 100 years. And the time and effort that we put into the raw ingredients, that is special enough. I don't need to add anything to it to make it more special or to make it quirkier or different. It's special because of how we treat the product. So, you know, pistachio is just, that's it.
Yeah.
Here it is. You know, you can taste it. You can taste that it's the way that it's made, the nuts, the saltiness, the homemade quality, you know, the same with all of our flavors. So that was really easy. Those flavors, those core flavors, and they just don't change. They haven't changed for coming on to 6 years.
Yeah.
They're still exactly the same. And then we can have fun with the other flavors. And yeah, you're right. We've done lots of collaborations. One of the latest ones was the 8 chefs in 8 weeks.
Oh, okay.
The Gelato project. We called it Series 1. And it's just fun. The idea of that came because through lockdown, when there was that 5K rule
Yep.
where you couldn't travel outside of 5 kilometres, and I was getting really sick of everything you could order on Uber. I was kind of over it, and I rang my friend Scott Pickett, who just bought long grain, and I said, you know, no one in Hawthorn can get long grain, and there's this 5K rule, and, you know, this was kind of just before all the deliveries were happening through.
So like right before like the kind of the big Providor thing
Yeah,
kicked off
on
and
the cusp
take home
of it.
boxes.
I think that was just starting, and
Yeah.
I said to him, we need to bring that to Hawthorn. What do you think if we make up a banquet and you design the 3 gelato flavours, and so they get the banquet and a litre of Piccolina, and everyone loves long grain and everyone loves Piccolina. So, you know, we thought, that could be really cool. And he's like, yep, absolutely, let's do it. But let's not just do it from Hawthorn, let's do it from all of our venues and give people an opportunity to access it, given that we've got between us lots of venues. Let's just do it. And I'm like, okay, great, let's do it. But what was really interesting about that project was the way that Scott, as a chef, approached a gelato flavour. And it was just each flavour packed such a punch, and each flavour was so intense and incredible, and it tasted like, Thai food, but in an ice cream. It just
matched the menu incredibly well.
Completely. And from that, I thought, I need to work with more chefs, not pastry chefs, but chefs from restaurants, because I want to see how they approach gelato, because they see it differently to me or to, a pastry chef.
Yeah.
And I thought, I think I can, I think this is a great idea. I might just approach some incredible chefs and see what they say. And so that's how that project was born. 8 chefs in 8 weeks. They took over the specials. They produced 3 flavours, whatever they wanted, and we brought that to the customer, and it just was huge. It was really fun, and we did a lot of unique flavours, things we would never have done before. It was great.
What was one of the craziest flavours that was?
It was just, they were all really unique, but I think Dave Verheule's porcini gelato.
Oh, wow.
Porcini mushroom with just this incredible apple sauce with like a topping that had thyme and chocolate, and it was really phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it was about their concept in a scoop of gelato, and each chef, that their gelato tasted like their restaurant, like what you would have at their restaurant. It was incredible. It was pretty special, and it was a lot of work. Our chefs, our kitchen team of pastry chefs, just were so dedicated to the concept. They wanted to, represent the chefs really well, because it's a responsibility to take on.
Of course, yeah.
They need to trust us that we're going to execute their product really well. So they put a lot of faith in us, and our team really believe in Piccolina and what we're doing, and everyone we surround ourselves with, or that I surround myself with, understands that really high quality of what we're trying to achieve, and that there's no compromise with the product. There just can't be.
And because it seems like it's one of those, that whole idea you're saying just sprung out of, the situation that everyone was in with the COVID lockdown, and because, a lot of businesses have obviously struggled immensely because of it. And this is one of the fortunate things that has happened. And even you opened up more venues even last year, right?
Yeah, I know. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I look back and think, what were we thinking? Well, the thing is, it wasn't just on a whim that we said, we're just going to open new venues. This has been in the planning from day one.
Right.
My aim, and I used to tell people, I want to open 5 gelaterias in 5 years. and I would tell people, this is what I want to do. Because when you put yourself on the line and you tell people, then you kind of have to...
It's out there.
Yeah, it's
people
out there.
know.
Yeah, people know, and it's sort of like, well, I've put my goal out there and now I need to follow through. So I don't shy away from telling people, but then it's a fear of not doing what I say I'm going to do pushes me to make sure that I do it and achieve it, setting yourself those goals. So... but within reason, you can't be silly and just sort of, say, I said I'm going to do this and then just sort of do it if it's not the right thing. You need to think about what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, I'd been looking in the areas that we've opened the new stores in for a number of years. I had Swan Street, Richmond in my mind.
Because how many in total now?
6.
So 6 in total. So
total.
you hit the 5 in 5. Well,
it was
20,
6 in 5.
So you beat it.
Yeah, I beat it. I was like, yes. I'm
so
not competitive.
So if you've done 6 in 5, so then what does the next 5 years hold for the business? Do you think? What's that next goal?
The next goal, I think this year is just really about consolidating, making sure that we deliver in many, many facets of the business. Now it's gone from just a little thing to it's always been serious, but now we've got a lot of responsibilities, a lot of people who rely on us, and we need to make sure that the infrastructure is there and that we're really strong so that we can go to the next level and the next stage.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Question about when it comes to expanding a business such as this, and I've seen I've definitely seen places in the States do this, and I'm sure people are doing it here as well. But there might be this desire to get into like the retail kind of space in terms of having something in the frozen section in a supermarket.
Yeah.
But because you do the takeaway tubs here, which people can take home. How does that actually change? If that was something that you even wanted to do, does that actually change the way that you have to make the product? If it's going to be sitting in a freezer on a shelf for it could be weeks, months.
Yeah.
Does that just it just changes the concept completely?
Definitely. The gelato, the way we make it, the idea of it is that it is produced every day in small batches, and it's consumed within 12 to 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's gelato. That's the idea of gelato. When you've got something like ice cream, that's that's one of the differences between gelato and ice cream. Ice cream is mass produced and it can often sit in a supermarket cabinet for between 6 to 12 to 18 months. Some expiry dates on ice cream can be. So when you start to mass produce something, it's sort of not really true to the concept of what our gelateria is about.
Yeah.
So that's not a direction
that you would
we are considering. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't resonate with the product and what we're about, and we would have to change the direction of what we're doing completely. Yeah.
So I've been speaking to a lot of people about how they deal with criticism when it comes to their restaurant or bar or their product. But I mean, have you come across situations where you've had to deal with that, and how's that been managed on your side?
Well, I think it's funny because with Instagram and all these different sort of review apps and Google and all that sort of stuff, everybody's a critic.
Yeah. And
you can't please everybody. You just can't. I mean, I don't care if there are, if there are 100 people in the room and 99 say that what I'm doing is fabulous, I am like, that's great, but I want to hear from the one person in the room who doesn't think it's fabulous, and I want to drill them on why and how, and
shake them down.
Try and figure out what I can do better to improve. So yeah, it's great being praised and hearing how wonderful everything is, but I want to know where we can do better. And so that's just even with personal, criticism against yourself, or whether it's the product or the way we do things, or as a leader or a manager, you've got to turn the mirror on yourself and say, well, okay, I heard that piece of criticism and that was kind of hard to hear, but is there truth to it, and what can I do to improve?
I mean, it's interesting you say, like, being critical about yourself, because are there situations where, you're trying to come up with new flavors and you're speaking to your staff and, you're bouncing ideas and you're testing things and something's just not working? Does that happen where it's like, look, we can't crack this one. We're just, we're just going to have to shelve it, move on, try something else?
No, not so much. I think we've got a really collaborative group of people, and I think the team we have understand the concept, and sometimes something's put forward that is maybe a little bit quirky, or it's got lots of toppings or colorings or this or that, and we kind of always go, yeah, it's great and it's tastes fabulous and it looks good and it's fun, but is it true to what we're about? Is that really traditional? Is that really what Piccolina is all about? And if we kind of assess it critically, and if the answer is no to 4 out of 5 questions, then it just doesn't make it onto the menu.
Yeah.
So I think everybody really understands the concept, and as we've gone on over time, it's really cemented in my mind what we're about and what we put out there. And then when we do these fun collabs with chefs and other people, that's when we can showcase a different side of what we can do, what we're capable of, and that's when we can have a bit of fun. But when it's about what we're outputting, it's really true to the concept.
Yeah. And just touching back on the lockdown period of last year, because we were talking about how you have managed to open up new venues during that period. But when things first started to shut down, was there an element, because your dad was always said, like, it's recession proof, but is it pandemic proof? Was there a moment there where you're like, oh shit,
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. There were plenty of moments from day one where I'm like, oh Jesus, like what have I gotten myself into? But the deeper in the deeper in it I am, the better I perform. I think, like, when my back's up against the wall, that's if I'm not under pressure, if I'm not in the deep end, I don't know. I look to put myself in the deep end.
Yeah.
Somehow, like, I thrive on pressure, but there were definitely times when I was thinking, oh my God, is this the right thing? Should we continue on? And I had a really good conversation with my dad, who was very, very sick at the time. And I would sit down and speak with him about business, and I said to him, I'm really, really scared. What am I going to do? Should we try and get out of these leases that we've signed? Should we push forward? What do you think we should do? Or what do you think I should do? And he said, when everybody else is scared, that's when you need to be brave. And I just was like,
wise words.
I still get shivers when I think about that conversation. So it was one of the last conversations I had with him.
Okay.
And I've drawn on that, because it is scary and everybody has fears, but it's what you do with fear. So you have to take the fear and I think use the fear to motivate you. Like, you can't be what's the word? You can't be taken over by fear. Fear can destroy you.
Yeah.
It can paralyze you, but you've got to use the fear to motivate you and to take you to the next level. Like the fear of failure, what I was saying before, failure is not an option. It's not that I'm not scared of it. The fear of failure pushes me not to fail.
Yeah.
So, you know, I put it out there. I want to do 5 in 5 years. And then I'm scared of not fulfilling what I've put out there because I don't want to fail. So using that fear to drive you.
That sounds like almost the perfect note to finish on, but I do need to touch on something first. I know I was having this debate with my brother-in-law not too long ago, and it's about giving out samples at gelato stores.
Sure.
Now, you don't do them, right? Or you do?
We did them until COVID, the whole COVID situation.
Oh, so it was COVID that
stopped doing it.
Got it.
Yes, but we're going to reintroduce it because I think taste tests are really good.
It's because I mean I agree to like I don't think if anyone's there getting 6 tastings, it's like okay that's a bit much.
People get 10 and then go, you know what? I'll get the vanilla. And I'm like, but hang on a minute, what are you talking about?
Well, my brother-in-law was saying it's like no tastings. You like it's what the whole experience is about. You go in, you back yourself, you choose your flavor. If you want to try something different, just you just cop it. If you don't like it. It's you know.
It's not that much of a commitment. I mean, I agree with him. And it's quite funny. I always find it amusing the flavours that people want to taste. And they always go back to what they wanted in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. But I think, and 5 years ago or 6 years ago, the pistachio was our worst selling flavour. Oh, well, not even our worst. I mean, people just didn't order it. They just didn't know what good pistachio could taste like. And so I was like, try this. It's incredible. Try it. And it's now our best seller. But we went through an education process with our customers I wanted them to try what we had to offer because it was unique. Mm-hmm. And so I encourage taste testing, and it's been sad that we haven't been able to do it, but now I feel like we can. So we'll reintroduce it.
Excellent. Good to know. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been incredible to learn more about the Piccolina story.
Thank you.
And yourself and what it's all become. And yeah, so I guess, you know, in 5 years' time we'll have five more venues to choose from maybe.
Yeah, hopefully. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's been fun talking to you.
Excellent.
Thanks for your time
Thanks,
as well.
Sandra. Cheers.
Thanks. See ya.